Hey everybody, we're picking up the Windows Server series again after a hiatus over the summer. So I've reinstalled this evaluation system and assigned it a static IP. But before we continue, what I want to do is go ahead and I want to do this the 2022 way. And so we're going to use the Windows Administration Center, or WAC, that Microsoft has pushed out. This is their web-based system for controlling servers. And this will load up here momentarily. And we'll download the MSI and get this installed, and then we can not even have to connect to it with remote desktop. We can go ahead and just use the web browser on the Mac or a Linux machine or whatever machine you want to use. You could even use an iPad as far as that goes. But you'd have access to many of the things that were previously only available logged in through remote desktop using the server manager or via PowerShell. And PowerShell is something that I would love to get more into, but at this point it is beyond the scope of this series of videos. So maybe in 2023 we'll take a look at PowerShell and be able to build upon some of the work that people like Chris Titus have done on, making the shell look nicer and things of that nature. So we'll get this installed, and then we'll probably wrap up this video and we'll pick up in the next video going through the Windows Administration Center a little bit, and then getting stuff for the components for Active Directory installed. Alright, so let's see what we can do here. Now, we're of note, I suppose, is that this will hook into some of the Azure services if you want it to. You don't have to use them, but Microsoft is pushing in that direction. So just keep that in mind. I would imagine that by, server 2030, or whatever they call it that comes out at that point, it will become even more reliant on Azure services. And there may not be much of a choice in the matter. Okay, so we're going to use port 443. That's fine. Okay, and just for the sake of argument, we'll jump in here to PowerShell and we'll grab our IP address if PowerShell wants to load. Okay, so we're on 143. I'm going to make a note of that in my document I've got over here on my other screen, just so I've got reference material later on. So I do think it's a bummer that Winget is not yet installed and supported on server 22 out of the box. I have not done a lot of research on whether that can be installed, but the first couple links I've looked at indicate that it's not technically supported under Windows Server because the Windows Store or the Microsoft Store does not exist there. But it looked like there were some ways of making that available, and we'll just have to figure out if that's actually the case. Of course, I'll back up I'll take a snapshot of the system before I try all those things, but at the very least, we'll probably snag a copy of the script that Chris Titus has that will make the prompt in PowerShell look a little nicer. It's rather plain. The command prompt in Windows has always been rather plain, and in 2022, that's a travesty that should not be perpetuated forward. But hey, I've been using Linux primarily for the last 25 years, and so if everybody else can nitpick on Linux for little bitty things, then I can do the same for Windows. We'll see how long this takes to get installed. Alright. So I'm going to say don't show this message again. And then on Server Manager, we're going to see if we can just turn this off. And there we go. Do not start Server Manager automatically at logon. Because, hey, we're not going to be using it. Or we'll be using it as little as possible with this project. Alright, so we have reached the end of the installation, and we're going to make a note of this URL, https dco1:443. We're going to say finish. And we're going to close that. And I'm going to switch over to the Mac and the browser, and we're going to see if we can't connect to this. Okay, I've put in the address up here, DCO1. It prompts with a potential security risk. We're going to go to advanced and say accept risk and continue. And it will ask for our login information. And it will take a minute or two to load. And we are in. Successfully installed version 2110.2. And it will talk about some things here that are new. And so this default panel has several sections. So we've got this main section here is going to be the list of computers, and we can click on them to connect to any of them if there are multiple listed. From here, we can go to Server Manager, Computer Management, or Cluster Management. On the right here, we've got View PowerShell Scripts, and there are many things here that are preloaded, pre-populated. We've got notifications, successfully updated extension catalogs, errors and warnings, active and info. We've got the settings cog, which again, you can enable some Azure things here, set your language and region, some personalization things if you want dark mode instead, which we may switch to going forward. Suggestions. So I'm not using Azure stuff, so I'm going to uncheck all of the Azure things, and I'm going to turn off the survey. Advanced. We can leave that alone. Performance profile. And then for this gateway machine, which is our actual server. So this Windows Administration Center is running on the server. It will actually run on any other Windows machine. I believe Windows 7 and above. I wouldn't put it on anything lower than 10 myself, but to each his or her own. And knowing the way I do things, I if I were more deeply into the Windows world, I would run this on probably a VM on a laptop, and have that set up with 0 tier 1 or Tailscale, and have that connecting to the Windows servers in various places, wherever I might be responsible to administer them. To me, that would be the ideal solution. It would allow me to run, for instance, Linux on a laptop and have a VM that allows me to still do all of this administration work. So, access for the gateway, and it will hook into Azure Active Directory. Diagnostic and feedback, extensions, and it shows a few that have updates available. There's general, internet access, proxy information, registration, manage your server VMs, migrate your Windows Server VMs to Azure and save with Azure Hybrid Benefit. Again, not something I'm looking at doing at this point in time. And, of course, updates, which this is saying it's up to date. Okay, so that gets us through some basics on Windows Admin Center. In the next video, we'll likely go through a few other things in WAC or Windows Admin Center, and then continue our prep work towards doing some Active Directory work. So I do want to make a little bit of a, I wouldn't call it an announcement, but a disclaimer maybe. I do not live in the Microsoft world. I do not set up Microsoft servers on a daily basis. I administer stuff that has already been set up and try to keep things running. Windows is just by way of the price tag on a Windows server system, not something that I'm going to be running long term. Now, the point of this series, as far as I'm concerned, and since I'm making the videos, I guess that's the point of the series. I do like to keep up on what is out there and what's coming as far as the newer Microsoft servers. And I have to say, I'm kind of impressed with this Windows Admin Center. So, it's definitely coming to the point where we're having some more mature web-based administration options for Windows servers. And again, this is something that on the Linux side has existed for probably 20 years, maybe longer. I'm not sure when Webmin hit the scene. I would have to look that up. But the bottom line here is that Microsoft, again, my opinion, Microsoft is finally getting to the point where they are embracing web-based administration of their servers. And it's probably a ploy to get people to use more cloud stuff. But, you never know what Microsoft's motives are. So that is going to wrap up this video. If you got something out of this, like and subscribe. I appreciate any new people that want to come into the community. As I mentioned earlier in the video, if there's a lot of kind of hateful comments on this, I'm just turning off the comments, because Windows videos are not my bread and butter on this channel, and never will be, in my estimation. So stay tuned. Hopefully we'll have some fun with this, and see what's new with the latest version of Windows Server. On that note, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great day.